The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers and clattered onto the concrete garage floor as Sophie's voice cut through the humid September night like a rusty blade. "Stop endlessly controlling me, Adam. I'm tired of your trouble." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I wiped my hands on an old rag and stood up slowly from beneath my beat-up Subaru. 6 years of marriage, and she finally realizes I'm not her therapist. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, fixing the transmission on a car that barely ran, while my wife was apparently fixing to run herself. Through the kitchen window, I could see Sophie pacing back and forth, her designer heels clicking against our worn linoleum floor. She was still in her work clothes, that expensive black dress she'd bought for client meetings at the architectural firm. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, makeup flawless despite it being nearly 10 o'clock. She looked like she was dressed for something special, something that didn't involve her husband covered in motor oil. "You know what, Sophie?" I called out, not bothering to go inside. "You're absolutely right." The pacing stopped. I could see her silhouette freeze in the window. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Kate Morrison, Sophie's best friend since college. Kate had always been the reasonable one, the mediator when Sophie got worked up about something. If anyone could talk sense into my wife, it was her. "Kate, it's Adam. Listen, I know it's late, but I need a favor. How would you feel about taking a little vacation, somewhere quiet, away from all this drama?" Kate's voice was warm but cautious. "What's going on, Adam? Sophie called me earlier, sounded pretty upset. That's exactly why I need to get out of town for a few days. Let things cool down. You interested in that lake resort up in Millfield? I'll cover everything." There was a pause. "You sure that's a good idea? Running away?" I glanced back at the kitchen window. Sophie was now standing there, staring out at me with her arms crossed. Even from this distance, I could see the anger radiating from her posture. "Kate, I've been married to your best friend for 6 years. Trust me when I say that sometimes the best thing you can do is give someone exactly what they're asking for." "All right," Kate said after another pause. "I could use a break too. When do we leave?" "How about right now?" 2 hours later, I was driving north on Route 15 with Kate riding shotgun, her overnight bag thrown hastily in the back seat next to mine. The radio played some late-night jazz, and the September air was finally starting to cool as we left the city lights behind. Kate had been unusually quiet since we'd picked her up from her apartment. She kept checking her phone, typing quick messages, then putting it away with a frown. "Sophie texting you?" I asked. "Among others." Kate tucked a strand of her auburn hair behind her ear. She was 3 years younger than Sophie, but had always seemed more mature, more grounded. Tonight, though, she seemed distracted, almost nervous. "What's she saying?" Kate hesitated. "She's confused, angry, asking where you went, why you're not answering her calls." I glanced at my own phone sitting in the cup holder. The screen had been lighting up constantly for the past hour. Calls, texts, voicemails. I'd stopped counting at 50. "She wanted freedom from my controlling nature," I said. "I'm giving it to her." "Adam, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." Kate shifted in her seat to face me. "How long have you known?" The question hit me like a cold slap. I kept my eyes on the road, but my grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Known what?" "About Liam." The name hung in the air between us like a loaded gun. Liam Hendricks, Sophie's co-worker at the design firm. Tall, lean, with that carefully cultivated stubble and expensive cologne that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. The guy who always seemed to be around whenever Sophie had to work late, who she mentioned just a little too often in casual conversation. "How long have you known?" I asked quietly. Kate sighed. "A few weeks. I saw them together at that new wine bar downtown. They weren't exactly being discreet." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Not surprise. I'd suspected for months. But hearing it confirmed by Sophie's best friend somehow made it real in a way that all my suspicious couldn't. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to talk to Sophie first, give her a chance to end it herself, or tell you herself. And? Kate's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, and I saw her expression darken. She's not as clever as she thinks, Adam. Something in Kate's tone made me look at her more closely. There was an edge there I'd never heard before, a hardness that didn't match the woman I'd known for years as Sophie's level-headed best friend. What do you mean? Kate was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the dark highway ahead. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I mean that sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who hurt us deepest. We drove the rest of the way to Millfield in silence, but my mind was racing. By the time we pulled into the parking lot of the Lakeview Resort, a modest collection of cabins nestled along the shore of a small mountain lake, I had made a decision. If Sophie wanted to play games, I was going to learn the rules. The Lakeview Resort was exactly what I needed. Quiet, isolated, and far enough from home that I could think clearly for the first time in months. Kate and I had gotten separate cabins, and I'd spent most of the morning walking the lake trail, trying to process everything. My phone had finally stopped buzzing around dawn. Sophie had left 47 voicemails, sent over 200 text messages, and apparently tried calling my office, my gym, and even my mother in Florida. The desperation in her messages had evolved from anger to confusion to something approaching panic. The last text, sent at 3:47 a.m., simply said, "Please come home. We need to talk." I was sitting on the small deck of my cabin, drinking coffee and watching the morning mist rise off the lake, when Kate knocked on my door. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, holding up 2 cups of coffee from the resort's main lodge. "Sure." I gestured to the empty chair beside me. Kate settled in, and we sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching a family of ducks paddle across the calm water. She looked different this morning, more relaxed, but also more focused, like she'd made some kind of decision overnight. "I need to tell you something," she said finally. "I'm listening." Kate pulled out her phone and scrolled through her messages. "Sophie's been texting me all night, but she's not the only one." She handed me the phone, and I found myself looking at a group chat called Girls' Night Out. The participants were Sophie, Kate, and 3 other women I recognized as Sophie's friends from work and the gym. The messages made my stomach turn. Sophie. Adam just disappeared, left without saying anything. So typical. Jennifer. Seriously? What a child. Sophie. He's been so controlling lately, questioning everything I do, everywhere I go. Michelle. You deserve better, hun. Sophie. I know. I've been thinking the same thing. Kate. Maybe this is a sign? Sophie. Maybe it is. Liam thinks Adam is just trying to manipulate me into coming back. I looked up at Kate. Liam thinks? Keep reading. Jennifer. Wait. Who's Liam? Sophie. Just a friend from work. He's been really supportive. Michelle. Supportive how? Sophie. He listens. Actually listens. Makes me feel like I'm worth something. Kate. Sophie, be careful. You're married. Sophie. Barely. Adam and I haven't been happy in months. Jennifer. So what are you going to do? Sophie. I don't know. Liam wants to take me away for the weekend. Says I deserve to be treated like a queen. The messages continued, but I'd seen enough. I handed the phone back to Kate. When were these sent? Last night, after we left. Kate's expression was unreadable. There's more. She scrolled to another conversation, this one just between her and Sophie. Kate, are you sure about this? Adam's a good guy. Sophie, is he? He's been distant, suspicious, always questioning me. Kate, maybe because you're giving him reasons to be suspicious. Sophie, whose side are you on? Kate, I'm on the side of honesty. If you're unhappy, Talk to him. Don't sneak around. Sophie. It's not sneaking. Liam and I are just friends. Kate. Friends don't go to hotels together, Sophie. There was a long gap in the messages then. Sophie. How did you know about the hotel? Kate. I saw the receipt in your purse last week, the Riverside Inn. Same night you said you were working late on the Peterson project. Sophie. You went through my purse? Kate. It fell out when you were looking for your keys. I wasn't snooping. Sophie. I can explain. Kate. Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having an affair and lying to everyone about it. Sophie. It's not an affair. We're just talking. Kate. At a hotel. Sophie. It's complicated. Kate. No, Sophie. It's really not. I set the phone down and stared out at the lake. The morning mist had burned off, and the water was now a brilliant blue under the September sun. It should have been peaceful, but all I felt was a cold, growing anger. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Kate was quiet for a long moment. Because you deserve to know the truth. And because... She hesitated. Because I think Sophie's making a huge mistake. You think? I know. Kate's voice was firm now. Liam Hendricks is a user, Adam. He's been through half the women at their firm. He's smooth, charming, tells them exactly what they want to hear. Then he moves on to the next one. And Sophie doesn't see this? Sophie sees what she wants to see. She's convinced herself that you're the problem, that you're holding her back from some amazing life she deserves. Kate shook her head. She's always been like this, even in college. When things get difficult, she looks for someone to blame. I thought about that. Sophie had always been good at rewriting history when it suited her. When she'd been fired from her first job out of college, it was because her boss was jealous of her talent. When she'd had a falling out with her sister, it was because her sister couldn't handle Sophie's success. Now, apparently, our marriage problems were all my fault too. So what do I do? Kate leaned forward in her chair. You could fight for her. Go home, confront her, try to work things out. Or? Kate's smile was sharp. Or you could let her have exactly what she thinks she wants, and see how that works out for her. Something in Kate's tone made me look at her more carefully. There was a calculating look in her eyes that I'd never noticed before. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that sometimes the best revenge is giving someone enough rope to hang themselves with. My phone buzzed. Another text from Sophie. Adam, please. I know you're upset, but running away isn't going to solve anything. Come home so we can talk like adults. I showed the message to Kate. She read it and laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Like adults, Kate repeated. That's rich, coming from someone who's been sneaking around with her coworker for months. How long have you known? Really? Kate was quiet for a moment, then. Longer than I told you last night. How long? Since it started, 3 months ago. The admission hit me like a physical blow. 3 months? And you didn't tell me? I was trying to protect you. By letting me live a lie? Kate's expression hardened. By giving Sophie a chance to do the right thing. I kept hoping she'd come to her senses, end it, and you'd never have to know. But she didn't. No, she didn't. If anything, she's gotten worse. More reckless, more entitled. She actually thinks she's the victim in all this. I stood up and walked to the deck railing, gripping it hard enough that my knuckles went white. Below us, the lake stretched out peaceful and serene, completely at odds with the storm building in my chest. I want proof, I said finally. What kind of proof? I turned back to Kate. The kind that will make it impossible for her to lie her way out of this. Kate studied my face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I can help with that, she said. But Adam, once we go down this road, there's no going back. Are you sure you're ready for that? I thought about Sophie's text messages, about her friends calling me controlling and manipulative, About 3 months of lies and deception. I thought about Liam Hendricks with his expensive cologne and smooth talk, convincing my wife that she deserved better than the man who'd loved her for 6 years. "I'm sure," I said. Kate smiled, and for the first time since I'd known her, it looked genuinely predatory. "Good," she said, "because Sophie's not the only one who can play games." We drove back to town that afternoon with a plan. Kate had spent the morning making calls, to mutual friends, to Sophie's co-workers, even to Liam's ex-girlfriend from his previous job. The picture that emerged was exactly what Kate had described. Liam Hendricks was a serial cheater who specialized in married women going through rough patches. "He has a type," Kate explained as we pulled into the city limits. "Successful women who feel unappreciated at home. He love bombs them for a few months, makes them feel special, then moves on when the novelty wears off." "How many?" "That I know of? 4, in the past 2 years. All married, all convinced they were his one true love." The information should have made me feel better, vindicated even. Instead, it just made me angry. Not just at Liam, but at Sophie for being so predictable, so easily manipulated. "Where does he take them?" Kate pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. "The Riverside Inn, usually. Same room, he has some kind of arrangement with the manager. Room 237 overlooking the river. Very romantic, apparently." "How do you know all this?" Kate's smile was grim. "Because I've been building a case against him for months. Not for you, for his last victim. She was going to leave her husband for him until she found out about the others." "What happened to her?" "She's fine now. Stayed with her husband, worked things out. But she gave me everything. Photos, text messages, hotel receipts. Liam's not as careful as he thinks he is." We were parked outside my house now. Sophie's car was in the driveway, and I could see lights on in the kitchen. She was home, probably wondering where I'd been, what I was planning. "So what's the first move?" I asked. Kate checked her phone. "According to the group chat, Sophie and Liam are meeting tonight. Dinner at Marcello's, then who knows where." Marcello's was an upscale Italian place downtown, the kind of restaurant Sophie always complained I never took her to because it was too expensive. The irony wasn't lost on me. "I want to see them together," I said. "Get photos." "Already thought of that." Kate held up a small digital camera. "Professional grade, good zoom lens. My cousin's a private investigator. He lent it to me." "You've been planning this." Kate's expression was unreadable. "I've been preparing for it. There's a difference." I studied her face, trying to read what was behind her eyes. Kate had always been Sophie's loyal friend, the one who covered for her, supported her, listened to her complaints about me. This sudden shift to my side felt too convenient, too perfectly timed. "Why are you helping me?" I asked directly. Kate was quiet for a long moment, staring at my house through the windshield. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft, but there was steel underneath. "Because I'm tired of watching Sophie hurt people and get away with it." "People?" "You're not the first person she's screwed over, Adam. She's just usually more careful about it." Before I could ask what that meant, Kate's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression sharpened. "They just confirmed dinner for 7:30. That gives us 2 hours to get ready." "Get ready how?" Kate's smile was predatory. "You'll see." 2 hours later, I was sitting in Kate's Honda Civic across the street from Marcello's, watching through the restaurant's large front windows as my wife shared an intimate dinner with another man. Sophie looked beautiful. She was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she'd claimed was too fancy for anywhere I'd want to take her. Her hair was styled in loose waves, and even from this distance, I could see she was wearing the diamond earrings her parents had given her for our wedding. Liam was everything I'd expected, tall, well-dressed, with that practiced casual elegance that came from money and privilege. He was leaning across the table, saying something that made Sophie laugh and touch his hand. "Getting this?" Kate asked, adjusting the camera's zoom. "Yeah." The camera's shutter clicked rapidly as I captured frame after frame. Sophie feeding Liam a bite of her dessert. Liam's hand on Sophie's knee under the table, the two of them leaning close together, foreheads almost touching. "Jesus," I muttered. "It gets worse," Kate said grimly. "Look at her left hand." I adjusted the zoom and felt my stomach drop. Sophie had taken off her wedding ring. "When did she—" "This afternoon, probably. She's been posting on Instagram all day. Girls' day out. Treating myself, that kind of thing. But no ring in any of the photos." I lowered the camera and stared at my wife through the restaurant window. 6 years of marriage, and she'd taken off her ring to have dinner with another man. "I want to go in there," I said. "Bad idea. I want to confront them, make a scene." Kate put a hand on my arm. "Adam, listen to me. If you go in there now, you're the crazy, jealous husband. Sophie gets to play the victim, and Liam gets to be her white knight protecting her from her unstable ex." "Ex? You think she's planning to stay married to you after this?" The question hit me like a cold slap. I'd been so focused on the betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, that I hadn't really considered the endgame. But Kate was right. Sophie wasn't having an affair to spice up our marriage. She was having an affair to replace it. "So what do you suggest?" Kate's smile was sharp. "We let them have their romantic evening. Let them think they're getting away with it. And then we make sure everyone they care about knows exactly what kind of people they really are." "How?" Kate pulled out her phone and showed me Sophie's Instagram account. The latest post was a selfie from earlier today, Sophie in a new outfit, looking radiant, with the caption, "New Beginnings." Sometimes you have to let go of what's holding you back to find what you're meant for. Blessed new chapter, living my best life. The post had dozens of likes and comments from friends and family, all supportive and encouraging. None of them knew she was talking about leaving her husband for another man. "Social media is a wonderful thing," Kate said, "especially when people are stupid enough to document their own bad behavior." She opened her camera roll and showed me the photos we'd just taken. Even through the restaurant window, the images were crystal clear. Sophie and Liam obviously on a romantic date, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. "One post," Kate continued, "with the right caption, tagged to the right people, and everyone in Sophie's world will know exactly what kind of new beginning she's really talking about." I stared at the photos, then at Kate. "You want to destroy her reputation. I want to give her the consequences she's been avoiding her whole life." There was something in Kate's tone that made me look at her more carefully. The anger in her voice seemed too personal, too deep for someone who was just defending a friend's husband. "Kate, what aren't you telling me?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring through the windshield at the restaurant. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Sophie cost me my job 3 years ago." "What?" "I was working at Henderson & Associates, the big architectural firm downtown. Sophie was freelancing then, struggling to get clients. I recommended her for a project, vouched for her work, put my reputation on the line." Kate's hands were gripping the steering wheel now, knuckles white. She screwed up the project, missed deadlines, went over budget, delivered subpar work. But when the client complained, she threw me under the bus, said I'd given her bad information, that I'd been sabotaging her because I was jealous of her talent. Jesus. I got fired, blacklisted in the industry. That's why I'm working retail now, instead of doing what I love. Kate turned to look at me, and her eyes were hard. Sophie never apologized, never even acknowledged what she'd done. She just moved on, found new friends, built her new life, and left me to deal with the wreckage. The pieces were starting to come together. Kate's sudden willingness to help me, her detailed knowledge of Liam's patterns, the careful way she'd been documenting everything. "How long have you been planning this?" Kate's smile was cold. "Ever since I realized that Sophie was never going to face consequences for anything unless someone made sure she did. And I'm just convenient." "You're the perfect weapon," Kate said bluntly. "The wronged husband, the sympathetic victim. When this all comes out, people will feel sorry for you and angry at her. She won't be able to play the victim this time." I should have been angry at being used. Instead, I felt something like relief. For months, I'd been questioning myself, wondering if I really was controlling, if I really was the problem in our marriage. But Kate's story confirmed what I'd suspected. Sophie was the same person she'd always been, someone who took what she wanted and let other people pay the price. "What do you need from me?" I asked. Kate's smile was genuinely warm for the first time all day. "Just be yourself, Adam. Be the good guy you've always been. Let me handle the rest." Through the restaurant window, I watched Sophie and Liam stand up from their table. Liam helped her with her coat, his hand lingering on her shoulder. They were heading for the exit. "Showtime," Kate murmured, raising the camera. As Sophie and Liam emerged onto the sidewalk, Liam pulled her close and kissed her, not a friendly peck, but a deep, passionate kiss that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The camera's shutter clicked rapidly. "Got it," Kate said with satisfaction. "That's going to look great on Facebook." I watched my wife of 6 years kiss another man on a public street and felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Sophie wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that some games have consequences she never saw coming. "Let's go," I said. "We have work to do." The photos went live at midnight. Kate had crafted the Facebook post with surgical precision. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who hurt us deepest. 6 years of marriage, and I find out like this. I guess, for better or worse doesn't mean what it used to. The images were devastating. Sophie and Liam at dinner, the kiss outside the restaurant, and a screenshot of her Instagram post about new beginnings for context. Kate had tagged Sophie, Liam, and about 30 mutual friends and family members. My phone started ringing at 12:03 a.m. "Don't answer," Kate advised. We were back at my house, sitting in the kitchen with laptops open, watching the social media explosion unfold in real time. The post was getting likes, shares, and comments faster than I could track. Sophie's friends and family were expressing shock, outrage, and support, but not all of it was directed at me. Sophie's sister, "What the hell, Sophie? You're married." Sophie's mother, "I'm so disappointed. This isn't how we raised you." Her college roommate, "Girl, what are you thinking?" But the most brutal comments came from people who knew Liam. Jennifer Walsh, "Liam Hendricks? Seriously? Sophie, he did the same thing to my friend Rachel last year, and to Marie before that. He's a serial cheater." Someone named David, "Liam's at it again. Dude, you need to warn your wife about this guy. He's bad news." Rachel Morrison, "Sophie, please call me. I need to tell you some things about Liam that you should know." "This is better than I hoped," Kate said, scrolling through the comments. "People are connecting the dots about Liam on their own." My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "What the hell is wrong with you? Take that post down now." Then another, "Those photos are fake. You're sick." And another, "I'm calling my lawyer." "She's panicking," I observed. Kate grinned. "She should be. Look at this." She showed me Liam's Facebook page. He'd been tagged in several comments on my post, and his own friends were starting to weigh in. Mike Stevens, "Dude, seriously? Another married woman? When are you going to grow up?" Someone named Tom, "Liam, you're a piece of shit. That woman has a husband." Sarah Chen, "I'm sharing this. Everyone needs to know what kind of person Liam Hendricks really is." "He's getting destroyed," Kate said with satisfaction. "His reputation at the firm is going to be toast." My phone rang. Sophie again. This time I answered. "Adam, you need to take that post down right now. she said without preamble. Her voice was shaking with rage. This is harassment. It's defamation. Is it? I asked calmly. Which part is false, Sophie? The part where you're married to me, or the part where you were kissing another man? It's not what it looks like. It looks like my wife having an affair. We're just friends. You're making something out of nothing because you're jealous and controlling. I looked at Kate, who was recording the conversation on her phone. She nodded encouragingly. Sophie, I have photos of you kissing him. I have hotel receipts. I have text messages where you're planning romantic weekends together. What exactly am I making up? There was a long pause. When Sophie spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more desperate. Adam, please, can we talk about this in person? This isn't something we should be doing over the phone. Where are you right now? Another pause. I'm at Liam's apartment. Of course you are. It's not what you think. I was upset after dinner and he was just comforting me. By letting you spend the night? I'm not spending the night. I needed someone to talk to. You could have talked to me. You know, your husband. You weren't here. You disappeared for 2 days without telling me where you were going. And you used that as an excuse to go on a date with your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Kate held up her phone, showing me a new text message in the girls' group chat. Sophie had posted, Adam is having a psychotic break. He's posting fake photos online and harassing me. I'm scared. I felt my anger spike. Even now, caught red-handed, Sophie was trying to make herself the victim. Sophie, I said, my voice calm, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You have 2 choices. You can come home right now, tonight, and we can try to work this out like adults. Or you can stay at your boyfriend's apartment and deal with the consequences of that choice. What consequences? I looked at Kate, who nodded. The consequences of everyone in your life knowing exactly who you really are. You're threatening me. I'm giving you a choice. The same choice you gave me when you decided to start sleeping with your coworker. I'm not sleeping with him. Then prove it. Come home. Now. There was a long silence. I could hear voices in the background, Liam saying something I couldn't make out, Sophie responding in a whisper. I can't, she said finally. Can't or won't? Adam, you don't understand. Things between us haven't been good for a long time. I've been unhappy and Liam makes me feel... I hung up. Kate was grinning. That was perfect. She just admitted to the affair on a recorded call. What now? Kate's expression turned serious. Now we give her exactly what she's asking for. Over the next 3 hours, we systematically dismantled Sophie's carefully constructed life. Kate had contacts at Sophie's firm, people who'd worked with Liam before, who knew his reputation. By morning, everyone in their office would know about the affair. We sent copies of the hotel receipts to Sophie's boss, along with a note explaining that Sophie had been using company time and resources to conduct a personal relationship. We forwarded the recorded phone call to her parents, her sister, and her closest friends. Most devastatingly, Kate had discovered that Liam was still technically married, separated from his wife, but not divorced. His wife, it turned out, was very interested to learn about his relationship with Sophie. She's driving down from Boston tomorrow, Kate reported after a lengthy phone call. She wants to meet Sophie in person. This is getting out of hand, I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. Kate looked at me seriously. Adam, are you having second thoughts? Because we can stop this right now. You can take down the post, apologize, try to work things out with Sophie. I thought about that. I thought about Sophie at Liam's apartment right now, probably in his bed, telling herself that I was the villain in this story. I thought about 6 years of marriage, of trust, of building a life together, all thrown away for a smooth-talking co-worker who collected married women like trophies. No, I said. I'm done being the understanding husband. Kate smiled. Good, because I have one more surprise for you. She pulled out her laptop and opened a new browser window. I've been in touch with Liam's ex-girlfriend, the one who gave me all the information about his patterns. She's been documenting everything for months, building a case. A case for what? Unwanted advances. Turns out Liam has been using his position at the firm to target vulnerable female employees and clients. Sophie isn't his victim, she's his accomplice. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean? Kate pulled up a series of emails and text messages. Sophie's been helping him identify targets. Married women going through rough patches, recent divorcees, anyone who might be emotionally vulnerable. She feeds him details, and he moves in for the final strike. I stared at the evidence on the screen, feeling sick. How long has this been going on? At least a year, maybe longer. So, their relationship? Started as a business partnership. Sophie gets a cut of whatever Liam can extract from his targets. Gifts, money, favors. The romance came later. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this new information. It was one thing to think of Sophie as an unfaithful wife who'd been seduced by a smooth-talking predator. It was another thing entirely to realize she was an active participant in victimizing other women. How many others? Kate scrolled through the documents. 7 that we can prove, probably more. And Sophie knew what she was doing. Sophie was the architect. Liam's good-looking and charming, but he's not that smart. The psychological manipulation, the long-term planning, that's all Sophie. I felt something cold and final settle in my chest. Whatever love I'd still felt for my wife, whatever hope I'd harbored for saving our marriage, died in that moment. What do you need me to do? Kate's smile was sharp as a blade. Tomorrow night, there's a company party at the firm. Everyone will be there, Sophie, Liam, their coworkers, their boss. It's the perfect opportunity to make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with. You want me to make a scene? I want you to tell the truth, publicly, in front of everyone who matters. I thought about it. The old Adam, the understanding husband, the guy who always tried to work things out quietly, would have balked at the idea of public confrontation. But the old Adam had been married to a woman who loved and respected him. This Adam was married to a stranger who'd been systematically destroying other people's lives for money. What's the plan? Kate opened another document on her laptop, a detailed timeline of the company party, including the guest list, the venue layout, and the planned schedule of events. The party starts at 7. There's a dinner, then dancing, then a presentation by the senior partners. I figure we hit them during the presentation. Maximum audience, nowhere to run. We? Kate's expression was predatory. Oh, I wouldn't miss this for the world. Sophie's about to learn that actions have consequences, and I'm going to be there to watch her face when her whole world comes crashing down. I looked at the evidence spread across the table, photos, emails, financial records, testimony from victims. Sophie and Liam had hurt a lot of people, destroyed marriages, ruined lives, and they'd been getting away with it because no one had ever fought back. All right, I said, let's do this. Kate grinned. I was hoping you'd say that, because I've already reserved us a table. The company party was being held at the grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel, the same hotel where Sophie and Liam had been conducting their affair. The irony wasn't lost on me as Kate and I walked through the elegant lobby, past the registration desk where my wife had signed in for romantic rendezvous with her partner in crime. Kate looked stunning in a black cocktail dress that showed off her figure without being inappropriate. She'd styled her auburn hair in an elegant updo, and her makeup was flawless. More than one man had noticed her as we made our way through the hotel. You clean up nice, I told her as we approached the ballroom entrance. Thank you. You don't look bad yourself. I was wearing my best suit, navy blue, tailored, with a silver tie that Sophie had picked out for me last Christmas. The irony of that wasn't lost on me either. Nervous? Kate asked. Surprisingly, no. And I wasn't. For the first time in months, I felt calm, focused, ready. Sophie and Liam had made their choices, hurt their victims, and assumed there would be no consequences. Tonight, they were going to learn otherwise. The ballroom was packed with at least 200 people, employees of the architectural firm, their spouses, clients, and vendors. A jazz quartet played softly in the corner, while waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It was elegant, sophisticated, and exactly the kind of event where Sophie loved to network and be seen. I spotted her almost immediately. She was standing near the bar with Liam, wearing a stunning emerald green dress that I'd never seen before. Her hair was styled in loose Hollywood waves, and she was wearing diamond jewelry that definitely hadn't come from my paycheck. She looked radiant, confident, completely at ease. Liam was in his element too. Expensive tuxedo, perfectly styled hair, working the room like he owned it. He had his hand on the small of Sophie's back in a gesture that was intimate, but not obviously inappropriate. To anyone who didn't know the truth, they just looked like attractive colleagues enjoying a company party. "There they are," Kate murmured. "I see them. How do you want to play this?" I watched Sophie laugh at something Liam said, watched her touch his arm in that flirtatious way she used to touch mine. She looked happier than I'd seen her in months. "Let's get a drink first," I said. "I want to watch them for a while." We made our way to the bar, positioning ourselves where we could observe Sophie and Liam without being obvious about it. Kate ordered a martini. I got a whiskey neat. The bartender was a young guy who looked like he was working his way through college. "Busy night," I commented. "Yeah, these corporate parties are always crazy. Good tips, though." He glanced around the room. "You work for the firm?" "Something like that." Kate nudged me. "Look." Sophie and Liam were making their way through the crowd, working different groups of people. Sophie was in full networking mode. Bright smile, animated conversation, making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. It was a skill she'd always had, one of the things that had attracted me to her in the first place. But now, I could see the calculation behind it. The way she steered conversations toward personal topics, gathering information about people's relationships, their vulnerabilities, their problems. The way she made mental notes when someone mentioned marital troubles or financial stress. "She's hunting," Kate observed. "What?" "Watch her body language. She's not just socializing, she's evaluating, looking for the next mark." I watched more carefully and realized Kate was right. Sophie's attention lingered longer on certain people, a recently divorced client, a married woman whose husband wasn't at the party, a young associate who looked overwhelmed by the crowd. She was cataloging potential targets. "Jesus, now you're seeing her the way I do," Kate said grimly. The dinner portion of the evening was torture. Kate and I were seated at a table near the back of the room, with a clear view of the head table where Sophie and Liam were sitting with the senior partners. They were the picture of professionalism, engaged in business conversation, laughing at the right moments, playing their roles perfectly. But I could see the little intimacies that revealed the truth. The way Liam's hand brushed Sophie's when he passed her the salt. The way she leaned close to whisper something in his ear. The way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. "It's like watching a performance," I said. "That's exactly what it is," Kate replied. "They're performers. Sociopaths are often very good at mimicking normal human emotions." "Sociopaths?" Kate's expression was serious. "Adam, what would you call someone who systematically destroys other people's lives for personal gain? Who feels no remorse, no empathy for their victims? Who can lie and manipulate with a smile on their face?" I thought about the evidence we'd gathered, the emails, the financial records, the testimony from victims. Sophie and Liam had ruined marriages, destroyed families, caused immeasurable pain to innocent people. And they'd enjoyed doing it. "When do we make our move?" I asked. Kate checked her watch. The presentation starts in 20 minutes. That's when we'll have everyone's attention. As if on cue, one of the senior partners stood up and tapped his champagne glass with a knife. The room gradually quieted. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. It's time for our annual awards presentation. The lights dimmed slightly, and a screen descended from the ceiling. The presentation began with the usual corporate cheerleading, record profits, successful projects, exciting new clients. I barely paid attention, focused instead on Sophie and Liam at the head table. They were relaxed now, probably thinking they'd made it through another successful evening of deception. Sophie was sipping champagne and chatting quietly with the woman next to her. Liam was checking his phone, probably reading admiring messages from his latest conquest. "Almost time," Kate whispered. The presentation moved on to individual achievements, employee of the month, successful project completions, new business development. Sophie's name was mentioned several times, always in glowing terms. She was a rising star at the firm, beloved by clients, respected by colleagues, if only they knew the truth. And now, the senior partner announced, we'd like to recognize some special achievements by our team members. This was our cue. Kate and I stood up simultaneously and began walking toward the front of the room. A few people noticed us moving, but most were still focused on the presentation. We reached the area just in front of the screen as the senior partner was introducing the next award category. Kate pulled out her phone and connected it to the presentation system. Apparently, she'd hacked the hotel's Wi-Fi earlier in the evening. "Excuse me," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the room's sound system. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have something important to share with everyone." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me, including Sophie's. I saw her face go white as she recognized me, saw Liam lean forward in his chair with a confused expression. "My name is Adam Morrison," I continued, "and I'm here tonight because my wife, Sophie Morrison, works for this firm." Sophie started to stand up, but Liam put a hand on her arm, holding her back. They were probably hoping I was just going to make a scene and be escorted out. They were wrong. 6 months ago, I said, I started noticing changes in my wife's behavior. She was working late more often, taking mysterious phone calls, being secretive about her activities. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for me, or dealing with work stress. Kate's phone was now connected to the presentation system. The first image appeared on the screen, Sophie and Liam kissing outside Marcello's restaurant. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Sophie shot to her feet, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Adam, stop this right now!" she shouted. "I discovered that my wife was having an affair," I continued, ignoring her outburst. "But that was just the beginning." The next slide showed the hotel receipts, the text messages, the evidence of their relationship. But then Kate moved on to the real bombshell, the emails between Sophie and Liam discussing their other victims. "What I found was much worse than a simple affair," I said. "I found evidence of a systematic scheme to target and exploit vulnerable women. My wife and her lover have been using their positions at this firm to identify and manipulate clients and colleagues for financial gain." The room was silent now. Everyone was staring at the screen, reading the damning evidence. I could see shock, disgust, and anger on faces throughout the crowd. "This is harassment," Liam shouted, finally finding his voice. "These documents are fake. This man is clearly unstable." "Are they fake?" I asked, pulling out a thick folder. "Because I have sworn statements from 7 victims, bank records showing unexplained deposits into both your accounts, and recorded phone conversations where you discuss your next targets." I handed the folder to the senior partner, who opened it with shaking hands. His face grew darker as he read. "Furthermore," I continued, "I have evidence that this scheme has been operating for over a year, that it has resulted in the destruction of multiple marriages, and that both Sophie Morrison and Liam Hendricks have been using company resources to facilitate their criminal activities." Sophie was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Please, she said, her voice breaking. You don't understand. Adam is lying. He's trying to destroy me because I want a divorce. Is that what you want? I asked, looking directly at her. A divorce? Yes, she said defiantly. I want a divorce. I want you out of my life. Then you'll have it, I said, along with everything else you've earned. I turned back to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for disrupting your evening, but I felt you had a right to know who you've been working with, who you've been trusting with your business, your personal information, your lives. The senior partner stood up, his face grim. Security, he called. Please escort Ms. Morrison and Mr. Hendricks from the premises immediately. This isn't over, Liam snarled as two security guards approached. We'll sue you for defamation, for harassment, for what? Kate interrupted, speaking for the first time. For telling the truth? Because everything Adam just presented is documented, verified, and legally obtained. She turned to address the room. My name is Kate Morrison. Yes, I'm related to Sophie, unfortunately. She's my cousin, and 3 years ago, she destroyed my career to cover up her own mistakes. I've been investigating her activities ever since, and I can assure you that everything you've seen tonight is just the tip of the iceberg. The security guards had reached Sophie and Liam now. Sophie was still crying, but Liam was furious, his face red with rage. You'll regret this, he said to me, as they escorted him toward the exit. Both of you. I'll destroy you. Good luck with that, I replied calmly. From prison. As Sophie and Liam were led out of the ballroom, the room remained silent. Then slowly, people began to talk, whispered conversations, shocked exclamations, angry denunciations. The senior partner approached me, still holding the folder of evidence. Mr. Morrison, he said, I owe you an apology, and a debt of gratitude. If what you've presented here is accurate, and it certainly appears to be, then you've saved our firm from a massive scandal. What happens now? I asked. Now we call the police, and our lawyers, and we begin the process of making sure that Sophie Morrison and Liam Hendricks never work in this industry again. Kate appeared at my side, slipping her arm through mine. How do you feel? She asked quietly. I looked around the room, at the shocked faces, the whispered conversations, the senior partners huddled in urgent discussion. I thought about Sophie, probably in the hotel lobby right now, her carefully constructed world crashing down around her. I thought about Liam, his reputation destroyed, his future in ruins. I thought about all the women they'd hurt, all the marriages they'd destroyed, all the lives they'd damaged for their own selfish gain. I feel like justice has been served, I said. Kate smiled. Good, because this is just the beginning. She was right. Over the next few weeks, the story exploded across social media, local news, and industry publications. Sophie and Liam were arrested on charges of fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. The firm fired them both and launched a comprehensive investigation into their activities. The victims came forward, 7 women who'd been manipulated, exploited, and discarded. Their stories were heartbreaking, but also empowering. For the first time, they had justice. Sophie tried to contact me several times from jail, begging for forgiveness, claiming she'd been manipulated by Liam. But I'd seen the evidence. I knew who she really was. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Sophie got nothing. Our prenup was ironclad, and her criminal activities voided any claim she might have had to our shared assets. Liam was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Sophie got 3 years, plus restitution to their victims. As for Kate and me, we're still friends, close friends. She helped me see the truth about my wife, helped me find the courage to fight back, helped me reclaim my life. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did that night at the hotel, if I think I went too far, if I should have handled things differently. My answer is always the same. Sophie and Liam made their choices. They chose to hurt innocent people, They chose to destroy lives for personal gain. They chose to show no mercy to their victims. I simply chose to give them exactly what they deserved.